I want to dive into a story that is, frankly, as amazing as any drama. A conflict that has been raging for 2 millennia, often hidden from public view. We're talking about the conspiracy to silence the Son of God. This isn't just history, it's an ancient struggle and a cosmic conflict that has defined the path of civilization. The background of this cosmic struggle has been as amazing as any drama. Most people have no idea what has been going on in a conflict kept far from public view. I came to understand this struggle through some very personal, very intense experiences. I've spent years exploring various paths. My search led me deep into the spiritual wilderness, pursuing everything from acupuncture and oriental medicine to psychic exploration to Eastern mysticism, atheism, New Age beliefs and the occult. These experiences give me a horrifying perspective on this ancient struggle. The central force we are discussing is a long-standing opposition that is ancient, natural and supernatural. The intelligence behind the opposition is almost beyond comprehension. Part 1. The Catalyst. Christ's explosive presence. There has been a conspiracy to silence the Son of God, from the moment he declared his message and walked through the streets of Jerusalem almost 2,000 years ago. When Christ entered a public place, people became instantly divided. Their reaction was explosive and instantaneous. Why? Because they had come into the presence of the Son of God, encountering the Holy. His presence was like seeing a blinding light. This light was utterly unforgiving, delivering a powerful unmasking of their souls. It revealed the terrible lies, private sins and contradictions within these people. This confrontation was so intense that the sheer magnitude of truth confronting them demanded a response. This reality is still harder than any diamond, brutally unmasking who they really are, stripping their grandiosity in the noonday sun of truth. Because of this intense spiritual pressure, indifference was almost impossible. There was no time for diplomacy, equivocation or compromise. Phase 1. Plotting the crucifixion and fabricating lies. This instantaneous confrontation polarized them, forcing them into two camps. Those who loved him, acknowledging that he was the truth incarnate, or those who were offended by the holy and immediately conspired to remove his presence from the earth. This initial opposition led, clear and simple, to his crucifixion. The event was anything but random. It was cleverly plotted, orchestrated, and prophetically foreseen. But when his opponents realized they could not remove his presence by force, meaning his death and expected end didn't stop the movement, they resorted to cunning and deceit to rob him of his truth and identity. The gospel was an offence to their ears, so they manufactured lies. They devised the myth that he performed his miracles by the power of Beelzebub. They could not live with the fact that he was the Son of God. After the resurrection, they invented the lie that the body had been stolen while the Roman guards looked the other way, or slept. Later they claimed Christ had been herbally sedated while on the cross, only appearing to be dead. These first doubters set the stage for other doubters down the centuries, trying to unmake him through myths and rationalizations. They continually redefined and changed his identity, his message and the events of his life, with cleverly crafted tales, interpretations and myths. Once neutralized, the offence of his presence would be gone. Phase 2, the long-range culture war and academic infiltration. Christ predicted that this opposition, this conspiracy to ultimately and finally silence the Son of God by removing all evidence of him from the earth, would mount through history. For centuries, this opposition was forced to remain low-key, gloved and cunning, because the West unhesitatingly identified its foundation as biblical. The conspirators knew the world had to be slowly bent. This meant introducing changes by a process of gradualism and assimilation to create a gentler slope in this long-range culture war. Let's imagine ourselves in the shoes of that enormous think tank of hereditary initiates and geniuses whose sole purpose is to rid the world of Christ. Our means would be ruthless and variegated, with almost boundless resources. We certainly wouldn't be hampered by Christian concepts of conscience and honesty. If the contest were one of human cunning alone, the conquest would be an open and shut case. Our most potent strategy would be attacking from the inside. Following the model of the virus or leaven, we would change Christendom from within. We would enter the schools of theology and philosophy of the great universities and change the message of the faith. This process, likely to take well over a century, would start at the very top hierarchy of learning. Those among us who slowly altered the message, men like Wellhausen, Tillich and Bultmann, would be given protective labels such as courageous, open-minded or visionary. They would accrue growing acclaim. The wealthy among our ranks would endow huge sums of money to prestigious schools with professorial chairs, effectively monopolizing the doorway of accepted knowledge. Once the traditionalists were cut off, the graduates from these infected institutions could then infiltrate the broader churches and denominations to preach ever more novel messages like the social gospel or gay theology. This new belief system would replace the traditional message almost seamlessly, with hardly a soul noticing. Accelerating the conflict, the external assault. This slow process accelerated dramatically. By the 20th century, especially during the 60s, a generation rejected the traditional absolutes of biblical thought in exchange for new models of life and belief. External forces also played their part. Charles Darwin was embraced for theories that argued away the need for a God to explain life and existence. Karl Marx found the opening to advance revolutionary socialism, communism, providing little room for Christ. Freud added fuel by explaining that passions had to be released and explored, not repressed, paving the way for public resentment against religious taboos. Moral barriers that once restrained society were coming down. The opposition got ruthless in manipulating the masses. They realized civilized society needed a gentler slope. The means of external attack included social engineering in America, turning God-given inalienable rights into government-granted liberties and privileges. Public education was used to open minds to the grandeur of humanism. Diversity training, sensitivity training, multicultural consciousness, raising and gender workshops were mandated to really open minds to a collective worldview that was fully hostile to the Christian one. The family would die a slow death, with lesbian alternatives and gay consciousness raising everywhere. The goal, to create a generation so socially engineered that they would never even hear of Christ. To them, he would be fully erased. Phase 3, the cosmic Christ and the climax of opposition. The culmination of this long-range war is the rise of the cosmic Christ. When Christ is neutralized, his offense is gone. The opposition maintains an obsession through history to create or excavate other Christs and other Gospels. Today, the spiritual market is flooded with counterfeit Christs, avatars and saviours like Sai Baba, Yogananda or many others. More insidiously, new revelations are channeled into the world via psychics and mediums, a practice repeatedly and expressly forbidden in the true canon of revelation. Two such examples are, A Course in Miracles was spirit-channeled through a Jewish atheist, claiming to be Jesus. This channeled Christ claims sin is the illusion that separates us from our own innate divinity, completely denying the necessity of the central historical fact of Christianity, Christ's sacrifice on the cross. Edgar Cayce, the famous channeler, produced revelations from the Akashic records, depicting Christ as a perfect yogi, avatar incarnation of the Godhead. This cosmic Christ is a synthesis of Christ and the universe, who must syncretize with Buddha, Krishna, the Imam Mahdi, and fundamentally satisfy them all. This replacement, Christ, is necessary for the opposition's ultimate goal, a global religion. Globalists see the unification of the planet as far more important than the tiresome separatist whining of Orthodox Christians stuck in theological minutiae. The opposition has mounted alarmingly in our own era, with public opposition at the boiling point. Hostility is so high that the consensus could crash down on Christians. Christ predicted that this persecution, like that seen in the days of the Roman Emperor Domitian, would reach unprecedented proportions right before his return. Some New Age strategists even project that, for planetary transformation, up to 1/4 of Earth's inhabitants will have to be excised like a cancer. The cosmic trap and certain return. The deep mystery that confounds the self-proclaimed wise of this earth is this: in a very real way, this relentless opposition proves that he is the Son of God and the only one worth following. The opponents of Christ seek to wipe out the messenger and his message. They seek to neutralize the offense of the holy. But the span of this opposition is temporal and will fade away like a dying flame. Those who committed their lives to destroying him and his people face an outcome that is far less than positive. This direction of history sought by the opposition will lead them into a trap of cosmic proportions. His return is certain. The intervention of Christ set the nations of the earth to his birth. Jesus Christ is at the center of history and stands at the end of history. His final outcome is hugely positive for the entire universe. When he does return, he will split history and eternity, and all upon the earth will know without question who the real Christ is. The giant beast of the global machine designed to carry out the conspiracy would freeze in terror. The counterfeit Christs and the long-range conspiracy will dissolve. Until then, we must deal with the fact that this cosmic struggle continues, demanding the same radical response it did when the blinding light first shattered the darkness.